Hey, welcome back, Rotary Swing golfers. This is your instructor, Chris Tyler, with this week's tour analysis. This week, we are going to be focusing in on Hideki Matsuyama, who just picked up a victory at the always exciting waste management tournament in a playoff against Ricky Fowler. So congratulations to him on that. We're going to be focusing in on how to build a perfect takeaway, and we're going to be focusing in on some key ingredients, and I'm also going to give you a small checkpoint that's going to help you get into a perfect-looking takeaway position, just like Hideki does. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so one of the more commonly asked questions that we get from our student base around the world is, which of those golf swings out there on the professional tours really mirror the RST model swing? And I was taking some time and looking through Hideki's golf swings, and I was really kind of blown away by how close his takeaway and how close his backswing positions are to our model swing. And I wanted to spend some time this week and really focus in on the takeaway position because it's an extremely important part of the golf swing that a lot of amateur golfers tend to struggle with. So I want to go ahead and help you do some self-analysis this week. I also want to lay out a game plan on how you could fix some of the swing faults that you may be running into. So let's go ahead and get started with that now. Let's take a look here from the address position. I'm going to go ahead and draw an elbow plane line. Now, if you have a video of your golf swing from down the line, then I strongly encourage you to load up your golf swing in the self-analysis tool and use these same lines. You can use the same exact tool that you see me using here today. That way you can start to understand, okay, is my takeaway in this good spot? What could be causing my problems? So the first thing I want you to do once you draw this elbow plane line is I want you to go ahead and watch the golf club first. Okay, I want you to watch the club first. And if you see the toe of the golf club tracing up the plane line into a position where the body is turned about 45 degrees and the club shaft is now parallel to the ground, if you see that happening, then chances are you're starting to do things very well in your golf swing, which is good news. Now, I also want you to take a look and make sure that the club head is directly in line with the hands. If you've noticed that the club head is back behind the hands here, or if you notice the club head is out in front of the hands, then we need to make some adjustments to your takeaway. We need to talk about how you're moving off the golf ball. So that's the second thing I want you to look for, is making sure the club head's in line with the hands. Now the big one that you're gonna definitely need to check now, so you can see that we're working from the club head into the body, is I want you to make sure that both arms are nice and straight and nice and relaxed. If you see that those three components are in place, then it's really a good idea to start working on your backswing position. If you see that those things are not in place, then chances are we've got to make some adjustments, because what's going to happen in your golf swing is that your tendencies is to get the hands and arms too active too early on and not focus on loading your body up by shifting and rotating. That could be very hard to be consistent, number one, and it could also be very difficult for you to become efficient. So we're going to get further into this here in just a moment, but I just wanted to give you a way to be able to self-diagnose here, okay? I looked at the club head. I looked to make sure that it was tracing up this plane line. I looked to make sure that the club head was in line with my hands, and I looked to make sure that my arms are in a straight position. If you have those down, then you're in a good spot. If not, then pay close attention to part 2 of this video. Okay, gang, so now that we've gone through the processes of identifying from the golf club in towards the body what you're going to be looking for in your own takeaway, now let's go ahead and get to work on how you're going to develop a perfect looking takeaway, just like Hideki does here. So what I want you to focus on, I'm going to draw a line here. I'm going to separate his body into 2 pieces. All right, so we can look at this as 2 big pieces. I want you to focus your attention, everything below the red line at this point. Focus what the lower body is doing here. Okay, the lower body is just making a small shift, and it's just rotating very subtly. Okay, there's not tons of rotation here, maybe 5-10 degrees or so. Okay, so you can see that he's shifting his weight into his right leg, and he's rotating his hips just a little bit. Now there's one small little thing that was different about his takeaway position that we wouldn't typically teach at Rotary Swing here, is you can see them set up a little bit more in the balls of his feet, a little bit more towards the toes, but he does dynamically move over into his left ankle joint down in the hitting area, which is critical for safety. But again, you can see that the lower half has just made a subtle shift over to the right side, and the hips have just rotated just a little bit. Now I want you to shift your focus above the red line, and I want you to pay attention to the body. Okay, pay attention to the body, not the club. Let's go through this a few times here. So you can see that the body is rotating quite a bit. So in turn, because he's rotating his body, his hands and arms are now moving. Because he's hanging onto the golf club is now reacting. This is how you build a good takeaway, is by focusing your attention on shifting your weight and turning your body. not doing the things with your hands and your arms that you've been so prone to doing in the past. That is typically where amateur golfers fail, is that they start to push the club back very quickly with their lead arm, which in turn makes their right arm collapse very quickly, which collapses with, and then you can start to have all sorts of compensations from the top of the swing down, where you start to throw the club away, lose lag. You can be over the top. You want to focus on establishing width by doing very little with your arms and just focusing on shifting your weight and turning your body. Think of it as a big body turn and a teeny tiny little arm movements. Yes, the arms are doing a slight amount of movement here. I do agree with that. The arms are elevating just slightly. Elevation is just a fancy way for us to say, okay, if you were to start at your address position and you were to lift your arms straight up to where your elbows were right at the base of your chest, that is what we call arm elevation. And that's something that happens gradually throughout the takeaway and backswing. And what you look for at the top of the swing is just the right elbow being right at the base of the chest, which he's obviously done very well here. So you can see it right at the base of the chest. And that, again, that's something that happens gradually throughout the swing. So that's one movement that the arms are definitely making in the swing. There's also rotation of the wrists and the forearms. So pay attention to his glove logo here. Let's actually get these plane lines off so you can see. As he gets into a takeaway position here, when the club head's in line with the hands, you're going to see that the glove logo is now facing directly out in front of him, and the toe of the club is up to the sky. So if you've focused on rotating your body, and there's a great way to do this, and you can stand up at home and try this out. So go ahead and grab a club, flip over the club, and go to the light end. And what I want you to do is go into your golf posture and make a small shift to your right side. Feel about 85% of your weight in your right leg. And then I want you to focus on keeping your right knee flexed, and I want you to pull your shoulder blade towards your spine. Okay, pull it directly towards your spine to where your upper body is now rotated about 45 degrees or so. And watch how the golf club moves. Your goal is to keep your arms relaxed. Do several reps of that, and notice how the golf club consistently reacts and moves into the same spot every single time. Once you do enough reps of that, then flip it over and do it with a heavy end. You need to train your body to shift and rotate. Those are the most critical parts of starting your golf swing off on the right tone. If you've struggled after you get rotation getting the club to trace up the plane line, then I encourage you to take a look at adding in some elevation and properly rotating your wrists. If you notice your club face a little bit shut or maybe gets a little bit open, we have the using the wrists effectively and efficiently golf swing video, we also have that pool noodle shoulder elevation video where I have some checkpoints set up for you so you can gradually start to add some elevation to it. But you need to make sure that your primary focus is on shifting your weight and rotating your body, and you will move into a perfect looking takeaway position every single time. So let's get out there, let's try it out. Shift your weight, pull your shoulder blade in towards your spine, and do several reps of it. Make sure you're using the light end first, and then slowly start to get into the heavy end, and let's get into that good takeaway position that we can start to use for more width, which we are now going to translate into more efficiency and more speed. Okay guys, so thanks again for tuning into this week's tour analysis. I'm your instructor, Chris Tyler. And remember, if you're joining us on our YouTube channel, do me a favor and click that like button below. If you have any questions or comments at all, please feel free to post those up and I'll help you out as best I can. The more we keep it social, the more we all learn. Also, remember to subscribe to our channel now. That way you get updates anytime we put out any of our new latest free videos. Let's get out there. Let's play some of the greatest golf you can in 2016.
We all agree that we have to get the club head from this side of the ball over to this side of the ball, correct? Now here's what I want you to think of. What's a more efficient way to get that club head from this side of my body over to this side of my body? Well, if we were to rotate our wrists, you can see that that club head moved to this side of my body without a lot of rotating parts here, without seeing my chest rotate. Yeah, the chest is going to rotate. I agree with that.